Hello, everybody. It's pressing too many buttons at the same time. And happy Alamo Day. My name is John Nelson, the plugin CEO of JKL Works and Plugin Business, and got a interesting show for you today. And thank you very much for checking this all out. I was trying to make sure it got on in all the proper groups. I've been talking to some other folks as well about coming on. They're going to be joining me in the next couple of weeks. I think we've submitted that now. So we may take some diversions from the 12 ways to jumpstart your business or ways to jumpstart your business launch and to really make it happen. That we've sort of been focusing on. Yes, we started with 12, but we're really going to deviate from that some because we could go as high as 40, y'all. We could be here a while. So that's great fodder for people like me. So then there's plenty to talk about, but it's all in the realm of helping your business. It's all in the realm of coming alongside of that. So I may have mentioned, I don't know if I did or not, Happy Alamo Day for those of you who know, and I have confessions about that. But I'm born and raised in Texas, and I was always one of those people that every time I would come across people from California or from others to California in particular was at the time when I was a kid, that anybody who came from California was going off about how great California was. Oh, this is, hey, you guys have it. It's too hot here. I can't function. This is not like California. I want to go back to California. Okay, go back to California. And then I moved to another state and I realized that I became that person about Texas. Texas this, Texas that, Texas everything, to the point of this is up in Iowa. And they were going, we get shut up about Texas already. So touche. But nonetheless, as the saying goes, if you don't know, never ask a man where he's from. If he's from Texas, he will tell you. If not, don't embarrass him. But nonetheless, whether you're from Texas or not, this particular day is interesting. How unlike a lot of other dates in history, and like some dates in history, honestly, this has seeped into our culture. This particular instance, and I'm talking about the Battle of the Alamo in 1836. If you go to the city of San Antonio, Texas, the Alamo is still there, such as it is. It's a mission and a few buildings, and they've made it into something more. And unfortunately, for a while there, they made it where it was kind of too much of a show. Where there's a wax museum and restaurants and all this other stuff around it, and finally the people said, you know what, this is too much show. This is not what this is all about. And so I think they're in the process of kind of steering that back. And actually, one of the biggest proponents of that, you would, unless you know, you would never guess. If you know this, don't shout it out, okay? But one of the biggest proponents of this, who is really dove into Alamo culture, even though it's not his own, is Phil Collins, the singer Phil Collins from Genesis and from his own solo career for many, many years. He has, over the past 10 to 15 years, not only taken an interest in it, but really amassed an impressive collection. Actually, I think it's older than 15. I think he's had it for 20 or 30 years, the collection. But he has really gotten into and been a part of research and been a part of funding. He's had we went to San Antonio a few years ago, and they had a showing of some of his artifacts that he had found and he had purchased from around the world and had put them together. And so they had his deal in the chapel, or in a side building. You could go see it. You could go see his collection of artifacts that he had. So he has really gotten into this, and it's very interesting to watch, him being a Brit. But it really does speak to this phenomenon, is more than just about Texas. It's more than just about San Antonio. It speaks to more than about the United States. It speaks to a lot of ideals. So this day is when the Alamo finally fell, and everybody inside was killed by General Santa Anna and the Mexican army at the time. So that's the Jim Bowies and the, and all those Davy Crockett's and all those guys who were legends in their own right before they ever got here. And they went here to make that stand. So I'm going to see if I can do this But in my office, I have a picture of the Texas flag and Constitution and the seal and all that, and it's horribly tilted. So oops, so forgive me. But remember the Alamo today, if you would, whether or not that's your thing, and study it. There's some interesting history lessons there that are important for it. So, all right, now on to the business at hand. Enough of me talking about Texas and being one of those people. But it really is fun, and it's kind of a unique. Texas in general is kind of a unique place in the United States. I've traveled all over the U.S. I love it. There's wonderful places to visit all over this country, and all over the world for that matter. But there's something special about coming here, or about being from here and being a part of this. It's just something special. So let's talk about some other things that might be special and perhaps even more near and dear to you, and really work behind the scenes as a part of the bigger picture, just like the Alamo was a part of a bigger picture. And it falling, it was not the define. I mean, it was not the, it was not the single thing that was the war. It was a part of it, and it was a very large part of the inspiration of it, of turning the tide. So there are lots of fundamental things that happened there that laid groundwork, and so that's what we're going to be talking about today. Heck of a segue, right? To some marketing fundamentals. Now, we've talked about these before, and so I wanted to come, and I realized that most of my audience in this are digital marketers. Okay. So even though we talk about 360-degree perspectives on your entire business, from marketing to sales to financials to operations to everything, this is a core group of marketing people. So I mean, that's really where we start. So we're going to combine this today. So this is Boost Live, as you see, but we're going to occasionally throw in a plugin service profile. So I'm going to be offering a lot of ways to sort of upgrade your fundamental game as we go throughout this. So I hope you find that useful, and I hope you. I didn't have the catchy music. It's the War Department is still working on that, so we'll have to see what we can do. But nonetheless, we'll mix in quite a bit of this. Because I want to go through these fundamentals, and I want to do it from a couple of different perspectives. One, so we've been talking about ways to jumpstart your business, right? 360-degree ways to do that, not 360. I wish there were that many, and there probably are if you think about it, but we're not going there. 360-degree ways to really jumpstart your business, to fix your own house internally before you go out and start looking. Sales and marketing are a huge part of what we do, but they can't be the only thing. A salesperson can sell all they want to sell, but if operations can't support it and you can't fulfill it and the billing isn't there, it doesn't matter what they sell. It's going to fail, and it's going to fail badly. So you really need that full perspective of your business. So that's what we're going to cover today. And as a part of doing that, what we like to talk about at JKL Works is, let's go fix all the internal stuff first, and let's not focus on the sales and marketing and buying ads and doing all that. There's a time for that, and that time is later. If your own house is broken, it doesn't matter how much you spend on ads, you'll be throwing your money away. If you don't fix the things that are going on and make sure your policies, your procedures, and your processes, everything inside is functioning as properly as it should and smoothly, you're going to have problems. I had a bit of an experience with that yesterday, going through my success blueprint with a gentleman, and frankly practicing a little bit on him because he was a friendly. So it wasn't I wasn't going to sell him on this. That's okay. The point was practice, but what it exposed for me in some parts were some process issues that I had to deal with. So don't think it's just you, and don't think I'm just preaching and not doing. So there are a few things that I need to fix on the front end to really make this flow smoothly for the customer journey in my world. So So yeah, that's important to do. And so unless that's in order, you don't need to spend any money on ad spend. So we focus on ways to not spend hardly anything on ad spend for a time, and to do things as inexpensively as possible on your costs, yet get the maximum amount of value out of it, because that is important. Um, so you want to get the most value, not only for the services that you use to make what you do better and to help you stand out, but you also want to get that maximum value for your customers. You want to get that. Because that's going to help you stand out. If you're not costing them a lot of money, what I had to learn long ago as an IT person, I was a cost center to a company. I was not what they call a profit center. I was generating costs. I was costing them money to do what I do. I was not generating profit. I was not generating revenue. I was not generating. And you say, well, hey, IT, for an IT company, yeah, you could, but it's still a cost center. It still costs to run that operation, and that's a cost you need to have. But it's still a cost. It's taking away. It's not adding to. So any way that you can come up with to turn yourself into a profit center, to turn your company into a profit center, by finding way by keeping your costs as low as you can, and getting the maximum amount of service out of it that you can, the maximum amount of value, not only for yourself but for your customers too. And so that is a very long-winded way of saying, as is my style sometimes. That's a very long-winded way of saying these are going to meet some criteria. There's going to be a little bit of cost with these solutions, with these upgrades, as we explore the fundamentals, but in the grand scheme of things, not very much compared to how much you can sell them for, and the value resell them for, and how much value you can get out of them, because they help you and they will help your customers to be better and to do better and to fill in a lot of gaps, to color in a lot of background, so that you can then have a good sales function and really represent the company well, or you can close those sales and you can bring in that money. You need these fundamentals behind the scenes to make this important. So that's the lens that we're going to look at all these through. So let's just kind of go to it, because I've been talking enough about it. So for each one, we're going to re-examine several fundamentals of marketing, several fundamental systems. We're going to revisit each one of them one by one. There's 7 of them, and we'll detail those in a minute. For each one, we're going to update kind of what it is and what our perspective is there. We're going to propose some upgrades. I have lots of upgrades for you. That's where the plugin service profile piece comes in, because you're going to get a lot of opportunities to go look up some stuff after this. And then we're going to apply what I call the problem solution test, and you kind of see it there. So in what I talk about on a regular basis at JKL Works, and what we promote, is we at JKL Works, and you as a client of ours, potentially, and you even if you're not a client, you as a provider of services to your customers, you should either confront a problem that a customer has but does not want, or you should provide a solution that they want but do not have. So you need to address a problem that they have but don't want, or a solution that they want but don't have. Clever play on words. I know, even easier for me to say, or not really. But that's the problem solution test. And we're going to look at each one of these services with that in mind. Does that particular fundamental service, and how does it do this? And why? And so why is it important there? Therefore, does it either provide the solution, or solve the problem they have but don't want, or provide the solution they want but don't have, right? Okay, so let's move on to the ye old services that we're going to address here. The first one is online presence. That is your presence on primarily Google and Facebook, but other places too. Obviously, you have a physical address, but there are, or you may have a physical address. And even if here's a tip: even if you're a digital only service and you're not bringing in customers off the street, you're still thinking. You still should think local. You still should think in your country, maybe your region, the areas that you can service. Those are the places you should be looking, and it would be good for you, if possible, to have a local presence in those places and to advertise that, because people are far more likely. I mean, ultimately, if they get to price, the folks in other countries who provide things for less, they'll get their share of business. But if people have their druthers, they would rather have somebody local that's to their country, that maybe speaks their language, that communication is not an issue with them, and they can deal with, and they can conceivably, if they had to, reach out and touch them, or go have coffee with them or something, or fly to meet them if things are so bad and they're spending a lot of money, or travel to meet them, or they can travel to meet you. People will want that opportunity. Okay. Then you have reputation management, which these two go surprisingly hand in hand: online and reputation management. These go together surprisingly well, and you'll see they are very interconnected. Sorry, it's my dog in the other room, because I do work from my house, and he's a very diligent Labrador Retriever and a good mascot. Okay, then we talk about content creation. So this is not one of the fundamental services I used to talk about. So we've added a few, right? It was 5 before, now it's kind of 7. So but these are things that you can still. Being a content creator is something relatively low cost, particularly with some tools I'm going to show you. And again, are any of these features going to haul in people and be power brokers for doing so? The answer is no, they never will. But do they color in lines? Do they color in background? Do they do things that are, relative to that? Yes, they do. They absolutely do. So content creation is definitely one of those things. Then we have referrals. You knew I was going to get referrals in there someplace. They're just too valuable as a service. They are your sales team. They have reactivation, customer reactivation, database reactivation, customer win back, whatever you want to call it. It's all there. So yeah, it's so you have that going on. Then we have communication and customer service. Now, these are very similar. These go hand in hand together, and there have been huge strides thanks to AI. Yes, we got to get AI in here. And there have been huge strides made in that, in that reality. So I mean, it is so it's a big deal. It's a good deal. So, and then finally, we're going to talk about prospecting. So as another one that got added in this mix. So these are all services, fundamental services, that are good things that we're going to explore, and we're going to examine, and we're going to look through that lens. Are they solving problems, or are they providing solutions? And why should we consider using them? And what are some ways that we can get absolute maximum value out of them? Okay. So the first one, online presence. So what is online presence? That is your digital presence, as the name might imply, on typically Google Business Profile and Facebook. You can argue putting yourself on the other ones, especially perhaps YouTube or TikTok to some extent. But really, this is the regular community presence that Facebook has morphed into for itself. Although we were all kicked out of it yesterday, I think, were we not? And I guess they fixed whatever that was. And then Google Business Profile, and having one of those, and what comes of it, and the value that comes with having that real estate online. And yes, a domain and a website comes with that too, because you can have various uses for those. That isn't, even if you're not, and especially if you're not if you're a digital company, then you must have this. But even if you're not, even if you're a local brick and mortar type of company, it's still something that's important for you to have, is this online presence, because it transcends people driving by your place and looking at your business. They can do it from their phone. They can do it from their computer. They can, easily pass along word of mouth. They're having a conversation at, some two people are having a conversation or someplace, and they mention the name. So what do you do afterwards if you're intrigued or they got a good deal? You go look them up. Do you not? You at least look up the name. You do a search. You do a Google search. Bing would like you to do a Bing search, but nonetheless, you do a search. DuckDuckGo, whatever makes you happy. But you're looking them up, and you're seeing more about them, and you have to have that online presence to make that happen. Okay, so first order of upgrades, we're going to start simple with the duh factor. That's Google Business Profile and a Facebook page. And those are pretty much essential. They are free to set up. They are, even if you have a digital business, those are things that you should be setting up, are certainly those things. I'm getting crossways. There's activity going on over here. We're getting a water heater switched out. What can I say? But you should have these set up no matter what, because they're free and easy to do. They should be mirroring each other. They should be a big part of what you have, because they're going to add to what you do. All right. So then we start talking about the online listings. So Google and Facebook. Google is the catalyst for a lot more search engine and directory listings than you ever will realize. Pretty much all of them get their info, including Bing, get their information from Google. All of them, unless they just happen to grab one by themselves. Okay, they will eventually get there. They will eventually get your listing and your information. But you can shortcut that a little bit by making use of some of these directory services, especially if you have a local business, a brick and mortar type of business, or something that's local, trying to make a local presence. Maybe you're a caterer who works out of your house. Maybe you're a digital marketer who works out of your house and has to, business consultant that has lots of craziness going on. You still need a local presence. And so a way to shortcut that a little bit is to have a directory listing in the system. And so that's your Mantas, that's your Yext is certainly right there among them. And it lists your information in multiple other directories, online directories and listings out there. But I came across a really interesting one in doing this. Yext is certainly very viable. They've got a thing with Go High Level. They're very tied into it. But there's another one I came across called Moz Local. You see it listed there. So Moz, for most of you who do SEO work and some ad stuff looking for keywords and things, you're familiar with Moz, M-O-Z. But they have a local service where they combine several things together. One of which is online presence. And administering the Google and the Facebook pages simultaneously, with updates, with optimization, with that sort of thing. Then they tie in reputation management and some SEO. And so we'll get into some of that here in just a second. But it's a very interesting combination. So Moz Local is the name of the service, and it's reasonably affordable. Something that can do a lot of that background work for you. So you don't have to. Can you set it up on your own? Sure, you can. Is it better to have somebody set it up and have that connection to it? Yep. Yes, it is. At least for a time anyway, if that's really not what your thing is. If you're leading a lot with Google Business Profile, then by all means, you should be setting it up. But if not, consider something like that. And then we talk about some local SEO. So local SEO is, you see the Moz Local again there, but you also see Citation Vault that I've talked about. And Citation Vault, they're both channeling something we call backlinks. Those of you who do SEO know exactly what a backlink is. For those who don't, it's one of the three components pretty much that you need for SEO is good backlinks that are reliable. And a backlink is essentially something that lists your it's like an article or a post or something that has a link to your website, comes back to your website, sort of behind the scenes in the context of the article, or the article's written about it. So these should be good, reliable you know, these should be good, reliable sources there for those backlinks. And the more reliable you can make them, it again colors in that background, colors in those lines. So I mean, it's something definitely worth having. So let's ask the question: problem solution test for online presence. Does this solve a problem that people have but don't want, or does it provide a solution that people want but don't have? I would argue that online presence is necessary because it solves a problem people don't know they have. And that is the problem is this. They want to be, if you have a brick and mortar place, particularly, you're reliant on people driving by and knowing you're existing. Maybe they talk about you or something because somebody had good reference there. There is no online listing that somebody can go look you up and find you until this. So you need this. You need to have this here. This is extremely important for a local business. It is also important to set up, if you can, for a digital business, particularly in the country that you're working in. Try your level best to do that, to have that local presence, to have that where it's important. So, I mean, so then you have it, and then you're set up when people start looking for you, and they will. You see the visual there with somebody on their phone. That's exactly what people do, is they start looking you up. And so you want to have that online presence to do. So that's a problem. I guess it could be both. I mean, it does address that problem that people aren't being found, but it also provides that solution in a relatively easy way. But is this good as a standalone? This is hard to do as a standalone service. This is great to do as a lead in to something. If you can bundle this with some other items, perhaps using that, we'll talk about reputation management in just a second, then you can have a great lead in there. In fact, let's just go ahead and go to that, because these two are very closely linked. Everything you see, I mean, even one of the major points of setting up a Google business profile is to be able to get Google reviews. One of the points of being able to set up a Facebook page is to get reviewed on your Facebook page, and people can. So, I mean, both are very important. And so that goes hand in hand with your reviews and your reputation management. And what also goes hand in hand about it, that's not talked about enough, except by people trying to sell it. But if you're going to open up yourself to reviews, you must be responsive. This is not optional. You must respond to those reviews, good or bad. Don't do it, and you're going to have to work your clients through this. For those of you digital marketers, as you know, don't let them sort of cower from it because they're afraid of getting bad reviews. Everybody's going to get a bad review. But if you're doing your homework, if you're doing things properly, then you can counter those bad reviews the right way, by flooding with good reviews, by really pushing, by being responsive to these people, these trolls who get on there, who just have nothing better to do but gripe, and find a way to change it. If you can't change their mind, at least have the ball in their court, that you've offered everything you can possibly do to solve their problem, and then they don't respond, and then everybody sees them for who they really are and what they really are, that they just want to complain. And so your true clients will see through that. And but they will only see through it if you are responsive to those reviews. So that's how reviews work. That's how they go hand in hand with the online presence. They are interlinked. I was going to say something like inextricably, but I'm just going to go with interlinked. Okay. So we have, you see Moz Local again, because they have bundled all this together along with a bit of posting and some backlinks. It's a cool little service. That's my gem find of this whole thing. So it really can fill in a lot of course. Then there are, for handling reputation reviews, you have things like reputation.com, which is a very similar service to Moz Local. They try to take the same approach. They bundle reputation management with online presence, as I believe iReview does. I've gotten some ads from them, but I haven't necessarily looked into their. I mean, I went to the site, but I didn't dive into their services much. But it very much focuses on different types of reviews. But I suspect also adds the online presence component to it. This is just too close not to. This is just too good and easy not to do that. So it's much easier that way. So then you start talking about other types of testimonials, okay? That we can other types of reviews and things that we can do here. So that brings up the section down below with two services, one called Vouch and one called Video Ask. And these are kind of a thing all their own. So Vouch, for those who don't know, lets you have a little sequence there where you walk somebody through leaving you a review, but you do it with video and they respond with text. You can ask them questions and they fill in the answers. And I think they're adapting the service as well to be a little more to catch up with Video Ask. Video Ask over here is put out by Typeform. And one of the things that they do is you ask the questions, the review questions, or the plea to review them with video. And they can either respond with video, audio, or text. And this is one of those that if you can really get your culture going toward the video, it makes it very powerful. And these services make it easy to do. The huge problem with that is that most people, and this is changing, particularly with younger folks, most people don't like to be on camera. They don't want to be on camera. That it scares them. I've run Video Ask implementations and had the same results. Is that they've made the technology pretty easy, so now it is just a barrier of they don't want to be on camera. And as a radio TV person, in my deep background in college, and then later at a radio station, I had a couple of different instances where friends and colleagues of mine went charging toward people with a video camera or a microphone without knowing what would happen and expecting a different result. And both times they did. One was at an apartment complex we were hanging around in college. And the other one, my colleague, she did midday radio. And we were walking in a Walk of America thing. And she says, we had one of those. This is back in the 90s, so don't hate. One of those bag phones with a little microphone on it. She says there were some people walking up ahead of us to raise money for the March of Dimes. And so this was like a 10K walk that we were doing. And so in the middle of that, she says, I'm going to go up here and talk to these people. And I said, Angie, stop. And I didn't catch her in time. She started, running to catch up with them. They saw she had the phone and the microphone and they knew who she was and scattered like nobody's business. They did not want to be on air. They did not want to be on camera. And that's the sole. Video Ask is a really cool deal, but that's the sole problem with it that we're still trying to overcome. People want to be on camera on their own terms, and not on yours. And so if we can find clever ways to change that culture, then something like a Video Ask is very powerful. The video review of somebody leaving for your business is hugely powerful. So those who can overcome that, get a big bump out of it. Okay, problem solutions for reputation management. Whether or not you combine it with online services. So are they solving that problem? Are they providing that solution? Yes, they are in both accounts. Reputation management is one of those nuisances you have to deal with, because you will inevitably get people who have bad experiences, maybe through no fault of their own. Maybe it was a genuine mess up, and people want to see how you handle that. People want to see how your business or your client's businesses handle that. And so it is something, this is a function you have to have. But it is, again, I know people who are leading with reputation management by itself. That's hard. That's really hard as a standalone. If you can convince people of that, you're a pretty good salesperson. But if you roll it in with other services and create a bundle, perhaps a system, we'll talk about bundling in future episodes. But if you can do that, that's a huge way to get in a very necessary thing that is relatively simple, needs some policing, but is relatively simple to implement and run. And then you just have to coach them on the merits of responding to it and what happens. So yes, it provides a solution to deal with people that are people that are going to complain or who legitimately had bad experiences. It provides that solution. So that's why it's important. That's why we're going to use it. Okay, moving right along. Content creation. This is actually a newer entry, and this is, as you probably know, where AI is going to shine a lot. But provided we're all very careful with it. But content creation is background of the highest order, because every company, every business needs to have a source of credibility. I hope that these live videos that I'm putting out there are a source of credibility for you all. So whenever it's time that you need to look at either your business from a 360-degree perspective or somebody else's business from a 360-degree perspective, you will think of me and look me up because of these videos. And plenty of other people have the same approach. Atlas Agency Launch Lab's been doing that for a while, as have many others. We all started with another group that they've been around since 2017, and so they and very credible community of digital marketers that they have built up and purposely built up over time. So I mean, content creation is a big deal. But content creation can take many forms, as you'll see. But it is the regular providing of sharing of knowledge, sharing of interesting stuff, sharing of things that relate to you, or most importantly, sharing of things that relate to your business, the products and services you provide, or your sort of your foundations, what you believe is a part of as it relates to your business. How you treat customers, how you treat new people. How are they family? Are they not? How is this all dealt with? What are things that the common problems that you're really truly trying to help? It's the altruistic side of things. So content creation is a big deal for painting that in. And as I said, it's a big place that AI can make a splash. So one of the first upgrades we talk about is the social media posting apps, of which there are many that will post to. So that's the Hootsuite and those. But there's also an Aweber, and a Cloud Campaign is another one I did not put in there. But there's also Go High Level that has its own now social posting. If you're a Go High Level person, if you're not, or a company, if you're not, then there are numerous options here. And they all work similarly and very well. Social Champ is another one that I've used, but they all are kind of the same thing. And what they're all doing now is two things. One, they have image libraries and video libraries that you can pull in to help make your posts, so you're not having to go fish for images. Some of those come from AI, some of them do not. Some of them are just an image library that they have licensed as a part of your deal. So there's both, but they also have ways to monitor what's going on and the social engagement, they call it. So there are ways that you can monitor the results of what you post on social media and on your Google business profile, and simultaneously on your website if you have one. Have a blog. This is your shot to have your voice your way. So don't miss it. Okay. Then we start talking about some cool new tools that are, they've made their way in. Actually, Lumen 5 you see listed there has been around a while. But relatively speaking, in the internet, it's been at least 5 years, if not more. And it's pretty amazing, some of the stuff it will do. And so the idea behind these multimedia postings, and you have DALL-E, or however you say that, with the OpenAI folks. And you have, well, eventually maybe you'll have Google's. I don't know if they'll ever figure it out or not, but I'm sure they'll figure out a way. but you have all these image and soon video creations that will help, and blog writing, article writing services for AI. They're out there as well. Chat GPT. There's whole sciences about being, what do they call it, a prompt engineer, for putting all that together and getting it to write in certain voice styles. And I need to get Chris McCormick on here to go through that, because he'll blow all of our minds. As I posted that piece a couple of weeks ago from the webinar we did last September, 6 months ago. It's changed since then, and he threw out a lot of knowledge during that deal 6 months ago. So the AI is making this change very fast. But Lumen sources like Lumen 5 I've personally used, and it's awesome, and it's a big help, because should it replace what you write and what you post? No, none of this should. Absolutely not. With the exception of the videos and the podcasts we'll talk about below. But the rest of it that's AI generated, no, should not fully replace what you do. But it should be a tool as an idea starter, because we all need that, as a correction. How many of us use services like Grammarly? That's AI. And should be a tool to help speed things along, so you can get the max productivity out of what you do. Okay, and then let's talk about some of the content, the actual real the multimedia content creation that you physically do. Not that's AI generated like Lumen 5 kind of is, but I'm talking about the ones that we put together, like podcasts. Podcasts have been around for 15, 17 years, y'all. I hate to tell you, but they have, in the last, say, 5 years, particularly after the pandemic, have undergone a huge resurgence. And so now they're bigger than they ever were. And so it's no longer the techie geeky corner thing. If you think you can actually want to come up with enough content to put it out there, anybody can do it. There are audio services like Anchor and some others. There is a video service that'll help create some of these lives called OBS, Open Broadcast Studio. If you've never looked that up, if you have any designs on doing video at all, download that thing and play around with it for a while. It is open source. It's free to use. You can't sell it, but you can use it. You can use it and install it. And there is a whole cottage industry around it, around all the different plugins and functionalities that it has. And it's cool. I mean, you can spend, if you even remotely like video stuff, you could spend hours with this thing. You could spend days and weeks with it, and some of the different things that it will do. I've shot some of my stuff on OBS. Some of my videos and closed live things. I also use a program called HitFilm, which is, I think, a fork of Pinnacle Studio. But then, of course, there's the iMovies and the Adobe Premieres and and if you need an open or free one that's pretty reasonable now, is OpenShot. Go download that one. And Microsoft has their Clipchamp. Easy, hard to say. I don't know. But they're all got services now, because they recognize that's where this is going. TikTok and YouTube have distilled that down to something that's almost an everyman thing or every woman thing. It is relatively easy to use, and these are powerful. These are the most powerful ways to get your message out there, to get who you are out there, to get what it is that you're trying to offer. But before I say in my group all the time, before you pitch, offer maximum value. Use these tools, all these tools, to offer maximum value to people. Give far more of yourself than you're going to expect in return. The ratio of, probably 10 years ago, even up to maybe five years ago, was something like 5 to 1. 5 posts of giving before you get 1 post of an ad, before people allow you to do that. In more recent years, it's gone up 7. After the pandemic, gone up 7 to 1, where it takes 7 things of posting before you get 1. And then it's gone up to, beyond that, it has gone up to really high now. It's in the 20s. it's in the high teens or early 20s. I know some folks in my group have been doing some research about that, Sheena Lee Kennerly and some others, about how long that takes now and how much you have to post before people will let you advertise. So that's the only caveat to it. But these are the main way to get out your message, your word, your credibility, your offense. This is a chance for you to go on offense. So that's a problem. Back to the problem solution test. This is a solution. This is the way to get your word out there. This is why you want to do this. This is why you want to work this out for your clients as best you can, whether you do it or whether you outsource it. Or for you as another business that's not a marketer, this is why you want to do this. Or bring in somebody who does it a whole lot more than you do, who's better on camera presence to walk you and coach you through it. Because this is how you get your credibility out there. And this is probably the main way to do it, short of actually going through the process. So you have to sell people before you sell them. And this is the way to do it. All right. Okay, so we're almost halfway through there, so I'll try to speed it up a little bit. And this is an easy one because everybody knows. If not, you should. And I talk about it all the time, and that would be referrals. So, but we're going to talk about perhaps some creative ways of getting them. Some we've talked about before, some we haven't. So referrals is basically incentivizing somebody to bring you a customer, or at least encouraging it. Referrals don't have to be paid. They can be free. People will do this out of the goodness of their heart, but really and truly, they will do much, much more if they're being incentivized to do so. So my first point there is about paid referrals. If you have not set up a paid referral system for what you do or what your client does, do so. Figure out a way to incentivize them, and not just little stuff. If you do the math right, all due respect to salespeople, you have is it better or more productive to have 5 salespeople or 500? The 500 being your customers that you have now empowered in some form or way to be your salesperson. So they bring you people, and they only get paid if these people sign up. You best believe they're going to be talking you up, because then they get their incentive if that incentive is important to them. And 10%, 20%. Not out of the realm of possibility. It's something that definitely can be done. So, I mean, it is, it's very, very easy to do, and you get a huge return on investment with that in mind. Okay. So, along with that, the paid referral part of that is huge. Okay. So then we start talking about, can you combine that with reactivation, database reactivation, customer reactivation? We'll talk about in a minute. Yes, you can. You can absolutely combine that, particularly if you don't have a list to build from. This will help you build that list. And finally, on this point, yes, you can combine them with that. But I wanted to talk about vertical prospecting. Sorry, I was looking at notes. You talk about the concept of vertical prospecting. I was talking about this yesterday with somebody, and that is who does business in your chain before you and who does business in your chain after you. Who is working before you, who comes before you that you can strike up a relationship with, so they send you customers that fit what you do, and you send them customers in return that fit what they do. The example I've used is going the other way is a general contractor to electricians. Well, so they have electricians that contract with them to solve, to work on their projects, to work on their houses or their buildings or whatever they're building. So I'm willing to bet that those electricians know other projects out there that would benefit from a general contractor, right? So they would be willing to bring that general contractor over. Hey, I've had good luck working with this person, working with this company. They're honest, they're reliable. They pay me. They do what they say they're going to do. So they could really, your project here could really benefit from somebody like that. And vice versa, maybe that general contractor has other electrician jobs. So on other places. So that's how you work up and you work down the chain. And it is hugely important, and it's powered by referrals, solely by referrals. So if you figure out ways to incentivize somebody to do that, the amount of success behind the scenes, it's not glamorous, it's not all that, but it helps you build the credibility. If you've established that credibility with people, use it. It's not for nothing. Use it on referrals. Okay. So reputation management. Let's kind of fly through that one too. I'm sorry. Database reactivation. So you need referrals. There's too many ways on the problem solution thing. It solves way too many problems. So database reactivation, customer reactivation, customer win back. It has about 16 names, as you know. But it is trying to get customers who haven't bought in a while to buy. Okay. And there's some cool developments here too. There's some cool upgrades. There's some different things that you can come across and you can offer here, right? So certainly Go High Level and the CRMs do this, because it's taking a list of contacts and it's sending them messages and emails and things, trying to get them to re-engage with you. So of course that's offering something that doesn't that they for them to come back and try, and for them to come back and work with you, right? Makes sense. So it's a great win. There have been marketing businesses that have started off of this, and I think now this is getting a little harder to do, because you then run into the problem of, well, what if these people don't have a list? Well, you can generate, particularly the smaller businesses, the mom and pop shops that have just set this up, that don't track this stuff online as well as they should have, except for list of credit card charges. So that's a place to start, but it's tough. It's tougher if you don't have that list. So what you can do is, that's why I said before, people are combining these with referrals, and you're they're sending things to the list they do have to say, or you have businesses that are big purchases, big one-time purchases, and their next time they need it is going to be a long time away. Beds or mattresses are good examples of this. And so, or houses for realtors, so maybe you don't need a house. Maybe you don't need a house right now. Maybe you don't need that big piece of furniture because it's going to last you years. But do you know somebody who does? We have we have a way that you can get paid a little something for doing that, for being a loyal customer of ours and passing us along to somebody else. So it's a very, very good and logical fit that these work together, referrals and reactivations. It's just it can be a big deal there. So one of the ways you can also do that, if you need to build that list, is through QR codes. This is not a huge secret. People have been talking about this for a while. So you have them on tables, you have them in a restaurant, you have them on tables or menus, or boards of different kinds. We're selling Girl Scout cookies, and there's a way you can we can now put a sign out on a road that for however long it stays there, and it has a QR code on it, so somebody going by can scan that and they can order cookies. They don't have to come find my daughter to find Girl Scout cookies. They can order them, from, and they don't have to know her. They can place that order and get their cookies sent right to them, or they can send them anywhere else in the world if they want to do that. If they're not from here, maybe they're traveling, I can send them back and have them arrive at their place by the time they show back up again, right? So okay, so you have QR codes. They're a great way to do that. And finally, I want to talk about customer loyalty programs, because that is a logical extension of this reactivation, particularly if you don't have a list. This is a great way. We're talking about these last two. QR codes and customer loyalty programs are great ways to build up customer databases. So there are far more than I realized little things that people have set up. If you search for customer loyalty programs wherever you search for stuff and how to set up one, there are dozens of softwares that do this. With credit card processors, that's a nice tag along for them, is to build up a customer loyalty program. There are ways to do it inside your CRM. There's lots and lots and lots of ways of doing this, and it will get to the point where everybody has their little club that you have to join, just like everybody had an app for a while, and that was kind of the craze. Even the restaurants and businesses that had no business really doing an app were trying to do an app to get that engagement. But loyalty programs are kind of the same way, and so you have to be careful. But there are, there are good, if you continue as or you coach the business through maintaining it, it's a good thing. It's something that can really work there. So it's something that is that's not a problem at all. So you have the loyalty programs. This solves a lot of problems for people. This builds a customer database. It helps to put that together for them, of names, addresses, phone numbers, contact information, and makes that easier to do. It gives the customer something for giving up their contact information. And there's lots of, yes, there are lots of loyalty programs, but there's lots of creativity behind it too. You can come up with some really good things and you'll have to brainstorm it some, but there's some really good incentives for doing this that have made it. I mean, think about the loyalty programs that have been around a long time, and think about what that and whether or not you chose to participate in them and why. I mean, years ago, there was a very cool when Continental Airlines was still an airline before United bought them. And one of the banks here in the U.S., Chase Bank, had a cool thing with them, and it probably was too good of a thing, which is why they ultimately canceled it. But they set up, normally it's a credit card that gives you airline miles for things. So they set up one that was a debit and a credit card, that it was tied to your bank account, but it also would give you airline miles dollar for dollar for doing this with Continental Airlines. And it was huge. I had one. It was huge. It was cool. Finally, that was something I could relate to. I didn't have to take out a bunch of credit card debt. I could use my normal purchasing expenditures, and I could earn airline miles for when I had to travel. And at that point, I was traveling. But I guess it was too good of a thing, and they had to give away too many miles, because then they started getting rid of it. But think about the loyalty programs that you have joined and why. What was the incentive for you, other than it maybe some of them may have just been it got you a discount on something at the time, and you never used it again. But others, there are people who really seek that out and join it, and that's okay. It has its place. It's oftentimes you have to buy a whole lot more than you get in return for that information, but it's sometimes a little something extra, and sometimes they're really good. So loyalty programs can help build up that customer list and help you track them, and help you reach out to them with reactivations and opportunities for them to come back in and spend money. I mean, if done right, reactivations they've been likened to an ATM machine that you just keep hitting over and over and over again. You need some more customers, you come up with a new campaign, you send it out to them, and you reactivate them, and you'll get some folks that buy. Now, is it everybody? No, but it's can be quite a few depending on what the incentive is. All right, so we're in the home stretch of all this. Okay, thanks for hanging with me in all this and through all my distractions. So let's talk about now, in these last couple of things, let's talk about something that's probably, I can just about guarantee, is overlooked in your business, in your client's business. It's not done as well as it could be. It's not at all. And that's communication and customer service. My wife, who's a customer service person, rails against this regularly. She knows bad customer service when she sees it, and she kind of lets them know about it sometimes, but really out of a place of wanting to help, because she's done customer service for years and got complimented and rewarded for it when she did, and has been a manager and has been a store person that has had to work through this and knows what that takes. And so it's good customer service, if done well, and good communication is as a result of that, is kind of the byproduct of it. It builds you loyal customers. It errs on your side sometimes when things don't go like they're supposed to. You get a little bit of grace from them, from your customers, because you're communicating with them, because you're constantly keeping them updated, as much or as little as they want. But you're still out there and you're still trying, right? So this is another place where AI can really shine. So that's really important. So we talk about things like now Go High Level and many other phone systems now have IVR systems, interactive voice response, and they could be workflows, they could be whatever, but it's set up so whenever it answers the phone, it can now do many things. And I've heard one of the Go High Level ones recently, guys. It's good. It's really good. And I mean, yeah, ultimately you can probably figure out it's an AI voice, but it's hard. It's and that technology is getting better, and that can fill a role for you. That can be a gatekeeper. That can be somebody who just needs a quick bit of information, and you can give it to them. Should it be your salesperson at the end all be all? No, it should not. But it can solve low level problems and then route you to the places that will finish that job. So so the IVR systems are getting pretty good now, and they will only get better as the time goes on. So use them along with the web chat bots below that. We'll do a whole plugin service profile on the chat, on the different chat options that are out there now. They're getting really good. I swear I'm going to do it. So they, but all these serve a low level purpose. They can help you, be a little bigger than you are by answering the basic things. But with any of these that you set up, and with the IVR, it's in Go High Level. It's in several others. I think Twilio has sort of its own takeoff of it. That's behind the scenes of Go High Level, or has been for a while, and others do too. There's lots of these now. Even before that, you could record. I use there are services that you could sort of record your own, menu prompts and run people through. And there's debate about, and every business situation is a little different. And some of this aligns with your values. Some of this aligns with just how your business process just works. There are some situations where you really always you don't want an automated menu answering, because people won't respond to that. You want actual people answering the phone. A catering business, good example. You want somebody answering the phone, and so they do. The one my wife works for, 24 hours a day, they have somebody answering the phone. There is no automated menu system there. Because it's just not practical to do it. They have to take those orders. That's how they get their business. But yet, I mean, there will be somewhat of an order system behind mine, or a automated system, I should say, because then it lets, it answers the basic question. And with a lot of agencies who do this, who have a set process, it answers those basic questions, and then you forward them on to the right spot. And the same goes with the chatbots. There are dozens, if not more, and there's more being added every day to it. So I mean, they're all out there. They're all and they're all good, for the most part, and they're all responsive. They can do frequently asked questions thanks to AI now, and you can set up those frequently asked questions. And some of those responses, you don't know it's not a person. You don't know it's not AI. So that technology will only get better, but it needs to be there. But to do this, you really need to look at the way that you run your business, the way that you do your bit. To do this well, to handle this well, you need to look at how your process flows, and not just sales, especially customer service, especially operations, order fulfillment. Look at how that goes. And really take a long look at what the journey is you want your customers to go on. But then if some of that can be better handled by having an automated gatekeeper, then fine. Then bring in lots of these services that will do that. But if not, then if that doesn't work, then you're going to have to deal with finding a way for somebody live to answer the phone who at least knows enough of what they're talking about to get somebody to the right places. So that plays a huge role in this. But if you do it right, if you really take the time, and not only taking it right, but just doing it right, but just taking the time to do this. This is you talk about problem solution things, solving a problem that people have. You deal with these little simple questions that take up somebody's time. Or you deal with, but you also provide, and maybe they just need basic information. Or it could be as simple as having somebody respond, period, to halfway intelligently to provide some level of information instead of just nothing at all. That in and of itself is a huge solution, a huge problem solved here that you may not know you had, because people aren't going to tell you. But if you have it there, if you have the situation there, whether it's somebody answering or an automated attendant answering, or on chat or on phone, that's a big deal. And the technology will get better, but just having somebody available that people feel like they're being heard, or they're being acknowledged even, will go a long way to not only getting customers, but mostly will go a long way toward keeping customers. Then you combine that with so many of the other things that are on this list: reactivation, referrals, online presence, all those things. It all works together, and this can work together in a bundling sort of way that is hugely powerful. In our middle tier of implementation, if you decide you like our success blueprint and what we offer, and we go to that next level where we're walking through walking that out, showing you that revenue step by step, the middle tier of that includes a marketing fundamentals section that bundles all this together, stuff like it. And so then we can provide that color in that background while we're working on your business and solving those problems for you. So huge problem solution wins for this, for just taking extra time that you probably have not taken before, to really make that happen. I was kind of hoping he'd wait on that. So my apologies for that. So for the noise in the background. Okay, let's talk about the last thing here, and that is prospecting. So this is like the one before it here and a couple of others, a relatively recent entry into this fundamentals. Now, how is prospecting a fundamental? Because, that could be ads, and that could be expenses, and that could be so there's a lot of guerrilla prospecting methods that you can use. A lot of very small ways that have become reasonably affordable. That if you're willing to do a little bit of work, you can prospect on your own, and you can bring in some business here, and as a lower level service. And then when you're ready for something more robust, like ads, like putting more of this together into a larger paid campaign, then this will lay that groundwork. Meanwhile, there are relatively low cost ways of doing this, that are out here, that can be a big deal. So let's talk about some of the upgrades. You have something like Atlas Growth Navigator, and many of the others that are prospecting services for you. They are lead generation services. AGN does it a little different way, where they use some Chrome extensions to do this. I should know. They're doing it for me. And then those Chrome extensions are relatively inexpensive for what you get. But you a lot of it's run by you, or you can hire it done. That they can go in and prospect in, say, Facebook groups and email prospecting. And that's not that expensive to set up and run. It's relatively cheap. And then you find lists of email addresses, and you send out information to them as a way that only you can. LinkedIn has its own. You don't have to have Sales Navigator to do LinkedIn. If you do, it helps, but you don't have to have it. There are dedicated ways. If you're doing business to business, LinkedIn is the place you need to be. You need to be building that credibility and making those networks with people and have something credible to offer them. and that's generally free. If you want some more functionality, I think it's $75. It's probably the higher end, but then the Sales Navigator is more than that. It's 150 or very expensive. But that's if you're doing hardcore sales on LinkedIn, and there are good places to do that. So there's a lot of social media prospecting that you can do here, and that's really what we're talking about. Yeah, you can do email too, but so this is looking in groups. This is direct messaging people. This is finding people that could be your ideal customer that you spent time mapping out, and you go seek them out and you try to connect with them. And once you try to connect with them, a lot has been made about that. Then you try to offer them value. And then at some point you get to ask for the, hey, would you be interested in something more than what you have here? Right. So, so then we talk about as well, sales closers. Maybe that's something that's been a little more difficult to get the hang of outsourcing. Several of us have tried and are trying and are continuing to do that. And it's a valuable service, because you might be, as a company, great at building or providing a service or manufacturing something. You might feel wholly uncomfortable talking to people about it and convincing them to buy it. You just might. Not everybody's a salesperson, and that's okay. That's where the sales closer role can come in and can be very valuable to you. And so the just the concept of sort of outsourcing that is still there's still some bugs to be worked out, but it's coming. It's a lot of smart people are working on it and are working out how to do it well. And so it's something whose time has come, because that is a service that, in and of itself can be good for referrals. It can be good for a lot of different things. And then you're providing that as a service, and then maybe that's a service your client needs, and maybe either you provide it or you've worked out and connected with somebody or a company who does that, and they're willing to step in on a white label basis and do what you need to do. So that's can be just as important and a little lower cost, not as much. That and referrals can get up into higher dollar, but they should. Because you're getting much more dedicated return on investment, a much higher return on investment than you would be just throwing ads out there. Because these people they're not 100% certain to close by any stretch, but they're well over 50 if your offer is right and everything is well done. And so it's a good thing to have as a good sales closer if that's not your strength. And that is a good investment with a very high ROI. But it's probably more of an investment than we've typically been talking about today. And the final upgrade would be, it's something I kind of came across in researching this, and it's interesting. People have asked on these lives what my take is on influencer marketing. It's not really my thing, but there seems to be value in doing it for some people, for some niches, for having the legitimacy of somebody who is a social media or YouTube influencer coming along and endorsing them. Endorsements have been long before digital world. Endorsements have been used in, they're used in politics routinely. They have been used on TV. They have been used in all sorts of advertising for years and years and years and years, decades. So endorsements obviously can work. But this little service called Outreach Mama is an interesting take on this. So they're not an endorser. They are the one who connects you to influencers and endorsers. That's their whole business model. You pay them as sort of a talent scout to take what you're offering in the areas you want to work and to go find you influencers to connect with. And that's what they do. It's really a cool idea, actually. So it's called, just have to look it up. I think it's outreachmama.com, but Outreach Mama. If that's your need and you need an influencer to get connected to, go check this out and see what can be done there. So that's still a relatively low cost service. So this prospecting is a bit on the higher end of all this, but still very much something that you can bundle as a part of what you do. Lord knows there are hundreds of prospecting offers out there of all shapes and sizes. I'm prospected by a dozen a day. I don't know about you. And they may all be good. They may not all be good, but there's a lot of them. And so this is a service that is ripe to be connected to all the others. It's something that can work together for a successful marketing effort that works behind the scenes, that paints everything in, that solves problems for people. I mean, the problem solution here is the solution they provide is maybe these people do need a sales closer. Maybe these people certainly need customer leads. Maybe they're having trouble with that. So the problem solution application here is obvious. It's huge. The question is, can you provide prospecting services at a reasonable price that are far less than the cost of running ads? If you can do that, this whole section has tremendous value for you. So that wraps it up. A look at the marketing fundamentals. And so what did we learn today? This is kind of after all this and after all the construction and all the things going on and the distractions, and I do apologize for that. There are some real takeaways that we have here. One, to know your client and your audience. Before you offer any of this or even examine to see if this is a good fit, know if this is actually going to be a help. Do the problem solution test on all these different services and say, is there, or combining these different services in a couple of cases and say, is this really a problem that needs solving for my client or for me? Is my audience really going to respond to this? Is my client's audience really going to respond to this? Is it worth it's not as much money as doing some other things, but is it really worth it? It's extra work. Even if it's white label, it's still extra work. So that's important. Okay, so point number 2. So know the problem you are trying to solve. This speaks to what I was talking about a second ago. If it's not a problem, you're not solving anything and you're throwing away money. But if there are problems that apply to each one of these that you can solve by implementing one or more of these marketing services, either on your own business or for your clients, and figuring out ways to bundle them together and to squeeze absolutely as much value out of these as you can for the price you charge. You can charge a higher price as long as you're giving a ton of value with it and a ton of services that may not cost. And the key is, if possible, try to make these where they don't cost you much to implement them. Even if that requires a little legwork, you have to find that balance between what they cost and what you can resell them for, if that's your need, or just how much value you can get out of that. And if those numbers work out, you'll find this is an amazing secondary source of income, or a secondary way of providing high return on investment for relatively little work done, and most importantly, relatively low cost of doing it. Okay. Finally, so we need to know we're going to get back. We touched on this a little bit earlier. So we know our client, we know whether or not this is good for our clients or audience. We know whether or not this is a problem that needs to be solved. Now do we have the process in place to make this happen? Or can we have the processes in place for this to run smoothly? If you try to throw this in and you haven't planned and you haven't prepared, it's going to be a train wreck and you're not going to get your value out of it. Your customer or their audience is going to be mad at you. And it's going to cause all kinds of problems because you didn't really research this and you didn't have the processes in place to support it. By the same token, if you do research it, you do set it up, you do take the time. I'm having to take extra time to add some pieces to mine now, really and truly, because of conversations I've had recently, but to shore up my process so I can support what I'm doing better. gotten some advice on how to do that, but I'm taking the time and I know it's going to be successful. For you, it would be the same way. This would be successful if it's properly planned out correctly. So that's the value of adding all these fundamental marketing services and how they can make a big difference for you. And most importantly, for your customers, for your clients, for all that. So I hope this was helpful to you. I hope this made a big difference there. I know it's kind of long and a bit distraction filled, but still, these I wanted to update these fundamental services because I've been talking about these for 6 months. Others have been talking about them for longer than that. They are important to have. They do fill in a lot of backline that you may not even know is there. They provide a lot of service that you may not even know you need. So really consider bringing in these fundamental digital marketing services, adding them to what you do. And and watch this several times and do your own research and figure out how to make this a revenue generator, or at least a very high return on investment for what you're doing. You're getting a lot of value out of it, hopefully. And that will solve a lot of things for you. So thanks for watching. We will talk to you next time, and there'll be some more things going on. So I appreciate all of you watching. I appreciate all of you taking part, and we will talk to you very, very soon. Thanks.